Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. This is our session number 3. In this session, we are going to start a new topic, SAP Enterprise Structure. This is what we are going to discuss. And when it comes to technical aspects, this topic number 3, we will discuss after this topic we will discuss later on. Because as you can see in this topic, we have database tables, configuration tables, and all. So once we are ready with configuration and data, then it will be easy to understand this technical aspects. That is the reason why this will be discussed later on. Okay. So now what we are going to do is let's start with enterprise structure. So here we will try to understand what is enterprise structure and its significance. So for this, let's consider this one. So now let's assume we are working for Tata Motors, right? So as we know, Tata Motor is one of the business or companies of Tata group of companies, right? So Tata, under the umbrella of Tata group of companies, a number of businesses are run, like Tata Motors, then Tata Consulting Services, Tata Steel, Tata Communication, right? So generally, we call a group of companies, right? So like Tata group of companies. So in SAP, group of companies is represented as company, and individual businesses is represented as company code, right? So as we know that in order to run automotive business, Tata group of companies have registered one company, Tata Motors Limited. Under this company, uh, they have they run only automotive business. They don't run any other business. Similarly, under the name of Tata Consulting Services, it provides only IT consulting services. It doesn't provide automotive services, right? And then Tata Steel and Communication. So as you can see here, for different purposes, for different businesses, Tata group of companies have registered different businesses. So if let's assume Tata group of companies has decided to implement SAP, right, for all its different businesses. So in order to use SAP, this group will be represented as company in SAP and individual businesses. All right. So these individual businesses are represented as company code. So here we are just trying to understand the concept of company and company code in SAP. And another important point here, as you can see, for different nature of business, different companies are registered. So for each business is represented with a company code, right? So the Tata Motor is, in order to use Tata Motors, we will be creating a different company code. And similarly, if we are planning to implement SAP for TCS, then a different company code, right? So different company code. So as here we can say, as the nature of business changes, they have different business of the business, and then for different business, different company code. So we will be discussing in detail what is company code. Here we are just trying to first understand the concept of enterprise structure, right? So in enterprise structure, we will come across these terms. That is the reason why we are discussing here. Now take another scenario of Amazon, right? So Amazon group of companies, right, which is US based. So the main business of Amazon is online shopping, right? Online portal they have. And Amazon has presence in India Amazon has presence in Dubai, USA, UK, and in different countries. So as you can see here, in this case, nature of business is same. However, when a company decides to run any business in any company, that company has to register within that country. So in with Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Amazon has to register if Amazon would like to run its business in India. So Amazon has registered, and that is the reason why we see Amazon India Private Limited. Similarly, in order to do business in Dubai, they have Amazon Dubai LLC like this. So for each country, they have a different business, and then for different business, different company code. So right, so even though nature of business is same, but they are carrying out in different different countries. So as the country changes, currency changes, tax structure changes, and so many other parameters changes. So that is the reason why business of each company is represented with a company code. So here we have considered two scenarios, and in the second scenario, the nature of business is same, but they are carrying out businesses in different countries. And in the Tata Group scenario, the nature of business is different, but carrying out in India itself, in the same country. All right. So in both cases, company code varies. So now it's easy to understand enterprise structure. Look at this structure. Let's say here I have mentioned like IDS. Let's say this is Amazon. Okay, so Amazon, runs its business in different countries and continents. For example, like here just mentioned Europe and North America, right? And in Europe, again in different countries like in France, Germany, UK, and other countries. So as you can see here, for each country, company code. So the business of each country is represented with a company code. And in that business, they have different departments, and those departments are represented as organizational units. So what we are trying to do is we are just trying to compare industry term with SAP term. Okay, because in industries we call company, right? A particular business we call it as a company, but that company is represented as a company code in SAP. In industry term, group of companies is we call it as group of companies, but in SAP it is called as company. So this is what the comparison we are doing, and then as and when required, I'm going to elaborate on all these organizational units. Okay. So similarly, now let's go to this particular plant. Okay. So manufacturing facility, if we take into consideration manufacturing industry, then from manufacturing industry point of view, a production plant or manufacturing facility is called as plant in SAP. Okay, so that manufacturing facility is represented as plant in SAP, and the storage location within the manufacturing facility where products are stored, that is that are called as storage location. For example, if we take into consideration Tata Motors, right? So Tata Motor is a very well-known company here, as we know. So so Tata Motors has its manufacturing facilities in Pune, Jamshedpur, Chennai, and some other cities. So these manufacturing facilities are represented as plant. So one manufacturing facility is represented as one plant. Okay. So what is plant and all that we will go one by one. So here just trying to understand enterprise structure. Right. So similarly, sales organization, purchasing organization. So here we can say that in procurement department, the whole procurement department, we have the procurement manager or procurement head, and then head, procurement manager, and then we can say procurement officer, and then procurement clerk. All these different positions are there, right? So in procurement, manager and above are considered as purchasing organization in MM, and below manager like procurement officer and the procurement clerk, who are responsible for their day-to-day business transactions, they are considered as purchasing group. So that those are organizational elements of MM that we will discuss as well. So similarly, SD and all. So this whole hierarchy of business we will be representing in SAP, but there is a slight change in terminology that we need to understand. Okay, so what is this enterprise structure? And enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise. As we know, the general meaning of enterprise means a business, all right, and a legal entity which is carrying out business, right, or a company. So an enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise in the SAP system, right? So here, as we know, for our EWM training, we will be using both decentralized EWM connected with ECC, decentralized EWM connected with S4HANA, as well as embedded EWM, right? So when after launching S4HANA, if we are using SAP ERP, meaning before S4HANA, ERP was referred to ECC, right? So now we can say that there are two ERP business suites provided by SAP. One is SAP ECC, which is also ERP system, and SAP S4HANA, and this is also ERP system, right? So when we say SAP ERP system, means both. And the company may be using ECC or S4HANA, but and it is applicable to both. So, right. So, an enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise in the SAP ERP system. It may be ECC or S4HANA. Okay. So, it is subdivided into various organizational units for legal reasons or business related reasons. Okay. So enterprise structure is a representation of legal and organizational structure of the company, right? So, and it helps to map company's structure into SAP. It's nothing but in order to use SAP for any business, we need to maintain this hierarchy in SAP. Then only we can use. Otherwise, how we can use, right? So that is the meaning of that particular sentence. Okay. So if we look at here, right? So when we, at the micro level, can you see here, we have company code, which is nothing but we are representing a business like a Tata Motors, right? So let's say we are Tata Motor company is represented as a company code here, and then all the manufacturing facilities of Tata Motor is considered as plant, right? So here we can see plant, storage location, plant, storage location who are mentioned. Let me take another example. Yes, I think this is more clear. We have company code, and in this business or the company code, we may have a number of manufacturing facilities, and those manufacturing facilities are represented as plant, right? And within manufacturing facility, we have the places where raw materials, components, and finished products are stored. So those places are represented as storage location in SAP. Similarly, as discussed, the whole procurement department is divided into two like purchasing organization and purchasing group we have. So similarly, the whole sales department is divided into we have sales organization, distribution channel, and division. So as you can see, this side from plant, storage location, purchasing organization, these are MM organizational units, which we will be discussing tomorrow. And then sales organization, distribution channel, division, sales office, sales group. These are SD organizational unit, which we will discuss after. Organizational structure. Today, we will start with client, company, company code. We first try to understand, and all these, whatever you see here, these are FICO organizational units. So, so first we need to use SAP for any company. We need to make sure that we have the company code, right? We have the company code available. We need to first define company code for our business. Then only rest of the organization will come into picture, because this is the organizational unit which we require. So here, this is the concept of we have. So yesterday we discussed about client. I'm going to summarize the same thing, client. So as here, what is client, right? So what it contains. So here we can say client is a customer in SAP. We can say that each customer maps to one client. Within one SAP instance, a number of clients can be created. So what does it contain? So it contains application data, it contains customization data, it contains master data. So whenever we log in, so here we see client number. So even for our S4HANA system, let me show you even the decentralized one. So whenever we are trying to log in any SAP business suite, so here is the client, right? So this is the client which we already discussed. Just to summarize, so here this in this infographics, this client is same as what we discussed. This client, right? So in landscape architecture, we have different systems, and in these systems, as per business requirement, basis consultants maintain a number of clients. And as we can see here, we are using 800 clients, which is for training purpose, right? So similarly, a number of clients are defined, and under that client, we have different organizational units, right? So now let's move to next organizational unit. So this training is all about SAP EWM, right? So but in order to use SAP EWM, we required a number of organizational units. What is organizational unit? We will see. So the organizational units which are required, only those organizational units we are discussing. We are not discussing about all the organizational units, because we are responsible for EWM, right? For example, a number of organizational units are there. Let me show you here. For different modules, we have different organizational units. Like for FICO, we have these many organizational units. So this is the FICO organizational structure. In this organizational structure, we have these many organizational units. But out of these, we need to know, we will be discussing about company and we will be discussing about company and company code, right? We will not be discussing others, because in real time, FICO consultants are responsible for defining and maintaining these organizational units. Similarly, for CO, these many, and from point of view, there are 4 organizational units like plant, storage location, purchasing organization, and purchasing group. Since EWM is closely integrated with SD, and logistics execution, that is the reason why we will be discussing in detail about organizational unit, SD organizational units, and logistics execution. Okay, so wherever required, we will be discussing. For example, we don't require organizational unit of HCM organizational units or PP organizational units, so we will not be discussing them. Okay, so this is about enterprise structure, which we just discussed. Now we are discussing about, so when we combine, let me open again. I think that file is just closed. Let me open this enterprise structure again here. Enterprise structure. Yeah, enterprise structure, right? So what we are actually doing, we are actually representing this company structure into SAP, right? So in order to represent them, we have different departments, and for different departments, we have different modules, right? And in different modules, we have organizational units. So here, please pay attention. You can see that. Let me zoom this one for more clarity. Right. So here, in this case, right, can you see here, we have client, we just discussed. And in this client, we have operating concern, then controlling area, credit control area, and then company. So here, operating concern, controlling area, credit control, company code, these are all our organizational FICO organizational unit. So here we just try to understand the concept. What does it mean? How it impacts, right? And now, if we closely look at our MM and SD, so as, in this client, we have controlling area. In the controlling area, we have company code, this one, right? And in the company code, we have plants or the production plants, right? And then in order to carry out procurement for these plants, we have the purchasing organization and purchasing group. And similarly, to sell a finished product, we have sales organization, right? So for every module, we have different organizational units. So when we combine them, for example, here, can you see here, we have in the client, we have company code, right? And company code is assigned, the plant is assigned to company code. Similarly, a purchasing organization is assigned to company code. Sales organization is assigned to company code. So which shows a link between these organizational units. Okay. So now, yeah, we discussed. Now let's go to the organizational structure. For every module in SAP, as we know, for every department, we have a different module. And for every module, we have organizational units, so that when we define and assign those organizational units, this type of enterprise structure will be ready, which we just discussed here. This is enterprise structure will be, created. So let's move to 100%. Right, now move to organizational structures. Okay, so organizational structure is the base for any SAP implementation. So what happened, for every module, we have the structure. And without that structure, we cannot use SAP. So for example, this is the structure for FI module. This is a structure for FI module. So the highest level here, we can say company, then operating concern, charts of account, and then all those things, almost 9. So if we would like to use FI module, then these organizational units must be defined. Similarly, CO. And when it comes, hello, yes, any question? All right. So here, for example,
sir, so sorry, sir, I have joined late today because there is a lot of traffic here.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's
sorry,
okay.
Sir, sorry for the interruption.
Okay. So in order to use MM module, these organizational units are required. So without these organizational units, we cannot use MM module. Similarly, for EWM, for our module, we have these organizational units, and for SD and all. So, so here, right? Can you see here? We have this materials management. For materials management module, we have here, I think only plant and storage location is mentioned. We also have purchasing organization and purchasing group, and for sales organization. So every, as you can see, every organization unit is assigned to company code. Okay. So now what we are trying to understand is, let's first understand this one. What is company code from this enterprise structure point of view? So, Mr. Sridhar, just to answer your question is what is FICO, right? So, like we have for procurement MM module, for warehouse management EWM module. Similarly, for accounts and finance, we have FICO module. Okay, so if you remember, yesterday we will discuss about different modules here. Let me show you again here in our business suites here, which we discussed. So what we discussed here, yes. So for different departments, we have different modules. For different departments, we have different modules. Like for procurement department, we have materials management module. For manufacturing or production department, we have production planning. Similarly, for accounts and finance, we have FICO module. Okay, I believe that answered your question, Mr. Sridhar. Right, so we were discussing about, So now we are first trying to understand what is company, sorry, business processes, enterprise structure, I think. Let me open that. That was closed. Yeah. Right. So what we are trying to, one by one, we are discussing. So now first we try to understand what is company, then company code. So here we have company. All right. So as I just discussed, group of companies in industries, we use the term group of companies. So that group of company is represented as company in SAP. So as you can see here, we have a group of companies, and it is represented as company in SAP, and individual businesses of this company is represented as company codes. So let's say ABC group of companies, it runs apparel business, shoe business, service, and other things. Like Tata group of companies, it runs Tata Motors, TCS, then Tata Steel, Tata Telecom, and all. So this is called as company. And this company, this particular organizational unit, this is FICO organizational unit, and it is an optional organizational unit in SAP S4 HANA. Earlier it was mandatory, but in S4 HANA, it is optional. If FICO consultants, if they want to create, they can maintain it. Otherwise, it is not required. So the definition of company in SAP system is optional. Okay. So the company is an independent organizational element which is required to consolidate two or more company codes data at country level or segment level or continental level. Okay, under group company, you generate consolidated financial statements as per requirements of an organization. For example, we have Amazon group of companies, Tata Group, Reliance Group, Walmart. So this group is represented as a company in SAP. So now let's go and define our own company for demonstration purpose, but in real time, respective consultants are responsible for their organizational units. For example, like you see company code and other, so it comes under FI organizational structure. So FI consultant is responsible for it. So similarly, a CO consultant, EWM, like this. But for our practice, we require these organizational units. That is the reason why we will define and use them. So let's go to this one, and let's see how it works. Let me log in to the SAP with this user. We will use both. So let me try in a remote desktop. So here we have, let me log in. So we will be using the latest server of SAP S/4HANA 2020. So let's log in this SAP S/4HANA 2020. Network issue. Let me try another system. In case of decentralized one, let me log in with this decentralized EWM connected with ECC. We will see both. So, right. So let's look at this menu path to define company. So what we are going to do is, now let's assume we are working for Tata group of companies, and assuming that Tata group of companies is interested to implement SAP, and it is implementing for Tata Motors. Okay, and the industry vertical is, it is into manufacturing, right? And it is in automotive business, right? And products and services, cars, trucks, buses, right? Let's say they are implementing for their India business, and they have the whatever, if they have the website and then website and all, right? So we are assuming that we are implementing SAP for this client. Okay, so now with this one, we will have the company code, all that information. So what I'm going to do is, let's put company here as one organizational unit. So what we are going to do is, right, look at this one. So here for company code, the data type is character and the maximum length is 6, right? So as we know, we know data type, right? So data type may be like numbers, alphabet, dates, right? Or decimals or currencies. They are data type, right? And then there must be some length for it. So maximum how many characters we can use to represent the key. Okay, so for a company here, maximum 6 characters. So when we say character, we can use alphanumeric or only numbers or alphabet. So or alphanumeric when we say character. Okay, so here maximum characters are allowed. So let me check about. I think there is a document where I can show you different data type, where we have different data type. I think here that we will be discussing in general database, SAP data, application data. This we will come later on. But data type I wanted to show you. Not this file. database tables. This is about, yeah, can you see here? In SAP, we have different data format. Like character means CAH means alphanumeric. NUMC means whole number. DEC number with decimal. DATS date. TIMS time, right? So if anybody is using Excel, they may be aware of this data type. For example, let me open this Excel just to explain, right? So when I select any cell and right click and we go to format cell, in format cell, we have these data types, right? Where currency, accounting, date, and all. So similarly, in SAP, we have a data type, characters, alphanumeric, right? Like this. So for company code to represent a company, right, it's a maximum, the data type is character and the maximum length is 6. Maximum length is 6, which is allowed. So now what we are going to do is, let's define our own, let's say here, I'm using the company as a, right. So here, what is our company here? We are using a group of companies as Tata group of companies, right? So let's say here, I'm going to use Tata group of companies, TGC. So like this maximum 6 characters we can use, but I'm using only Tata group of companies, CGC, TGC, like this. And this is the key which we are using, and the description is Tata group of companies. Right. So TGC is the key or the code which we are using to represent Tata group of companies, and with a description, this one. And for which company the Tata group of companies is implementing? Tata Motors Limited. So for Tata Motors, it's a company code. We will come to that point later on. First, let's represent this Tata group of companies as company with a key TGC. Okay, so for this, this is the menu path which is followed by FICO consultant while creating, and the transaction code is OX15. But since we are in the initial stage, I will take you through the menu path. So it is in SPRO reference IMG. So let's go to system, right? So in tools, here we have customizing. What happened? Let me connect again. Okay. All right. Let's log in. Right. System. This is S4HANA system. Maybe network issue. Let me try different system. This system also again. Yeah, log into this user and password. So we have, right. Right. So as you can see here, this is the menu path which we have, which is from SPRO. So SPRO we can directly type, which is a transaction code, or this particular node is available in customizing, then IMG, here is SPRO. Okay, or we can directly type SPRO. So I'm just taking you through SPRO, then reference IMG. All right, in a reference IMG, here we have enterprise structure. Because we are defining the enterprise structure, go to enterprise structure. Then we would like to define this company to represent group of companies. So go to definition, right? And it is part of FI, right? FI. So here go to FI, then go to define company. All right. So when we go to define company, because we are using a training client 800, as you can see here, it also shows client system and everything. So since it is for training purpose, so people like us, while practicing, they have created their own company. But in real time, we will have only whatever is required. Okay. So here, what happened in real time, FICO consultant, they copy standard company. So when we say standard, which is nothing but predefined, defined by SAP in the system, right? So, and the customized one means whatever we define, that is customized. Okay, this is just in a layman language, right? So now what we are going to do is, so here we have what is the standard company which is already available, which we can use. Yeah, G000000. I think that is not available, but we can create from new as well, or we can copy from existing one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create new, right? So what is the company meaning? This is the code which we need to mention. So what is the code which we are using? TGC. TGC is the code, and here maximum 6 characters, and the description is Tata Group of companies. Tata Group of companies, right? So, and then the address, if you would like to maintain for this one. So whatever is mandatory, only that information I'm filling up, right? And as we know, in real time, it is done by FICU consultant. So let me just put like Andheri East. I'm just putting a random postal code. Let's say I'm just putting it. City Mumbai, and the country is IN, India, and the business language which is being used is English, and the currency and the currency for business they are using is INR. All right. So say, so what we have actually done is, and whenever we are defining any organizational units, or whenever we are defining any object, or make or changing existing object, this customizing request will come. So this is nothing but um, like a in a layman, because later on we will discuss in detail about what is customizing request, what is workbench request, and all. So what what I want you people to do is make your own custom request. Now I'm making like batch 70 just with a description. The request number will come automatic. So what we are going to do is, all whatever objects we create or whatever changes we will do, all that we will save in our own customizing request, not in others. So save this one. So as you can see here, now one company to represent Tata Group of companies we have defined. Okay, so this is the concept of company. We are very whatever is required in order to use EWM, all that organizational units which we are defining. So this is about company, right? Now we required another organizational unit from FICO, that is company code. Now let's discuss in detail about company code. What is company code? As discussed, so the company code is nothing but individual business. So actually what we have represented, we represented Tata Group of companies as company. Now if we are implementing for individual businesses, then these individual businesses are represented as company code. So now what we are going to do is Tata Motors we are going to represent as company code here. Okay, with a like TML, like this, Tata Motors Limited. So what is this company code? First, we try to understand, then we will define them. So the company code is the central organizational unit of external accounting within the SAP system. So the business transactions relevant for financial accounting are entered and evaluated at company code level. The company code is an organizational unit used in accounting. Okay, so it is the highest organizational unit in accounting. It is a legal entity and an independent accounting unit responsible for all external financial transactions. For example, balance sheet and profit and loss statement. So the balance sheet and profit and loss statement. So right. So as you can see here, we have client. In client, we define one company, and then now we are discussing about company code. So this company is an optional organizational unit. As you can see here in this second image, in the client, we directly define company code without any company, because company is an optional organizational unit in S4 HANA. So that is the reason why here we don't see company. So now we are discussing about company code. Okay, so let's see how this company code is defined or maintained in SAP by FICO consultant. Okay, so let's define them. So what we are doing, we are assuming that we are working for Tata Motor. The Tata Motor is company code, which we are, in order to, what we are doing, we are representing Tata Motors as company code. So Tata Motors Limited. So the description is Tata Motors Limited. Okay, PLM. So this is the code or key which we are using, and the description. This is the description, and we are representing. So now you may you might have got the idea like what we are actually doing. We are this structure we are creating in SAP, because without this structure we cannot use it for this particular company. This is what we are doing. So we defined company, now we are defining company code. So if we look at company code, the menu path, the transaction code and all, which is followed by FICO. So here in SPRO, so we are already in SPRO, reference IMG, right? So this is IMG. So under enterprise structure, definition, financial accounting. So we are already in definition, financial accounting, and there is one, yeah, here, edit, copy, delete, check company. Click on here. So if you look at edit company code, here it shows all the company codes which are defined here, because in one company, like one Tata group of companies, we may have one business, that is Tata Motor, another one is TCS, and the third one is Tata Steel, fourth one Tata Telecom, and maybe others. So like this, those are maintained first, right? So as per SAP standard and the practice, what we need to do is, what FICO consultants they do, they just copy the standard company code to define new one. So we will also do same thing. So if you look at recommendations, right? So you should keep the preset company code 0001, right? And for this company code, the data type is character and the maximum length is 4, right? And for our case, what we are doing, we are using 3 character, but maximum is 4 here for this one. And there is a limitation for description out as well. And for description, I believe it is 25 character or 30 characters we have, right? So now let's follow this menu path, which we are already in this menu path. So go to this one. So we are already here. So as a standard practice, so this 0001 is a standard company code. So right, so let's copy this one and So for copy, we have different options. So this one, go to use this option. So whenever this option is there, SAP recommends to use this option, copy, delete, check on this one. So go here, click, and when we click, there is an option to copy or object. Click here. So specify your source object, or from our source object is our standard company code, which is 0001. And now what is the company code which we would like to use for our Tata Motor is TML. So just put the TML, right? If TML code doesn't exist, then only it will accept. Otherwise, it will throw an error that it is already this key is already being used. Is already being used. So the keys should be unique. So click here. All right. So here we need to say copy all. So say yes. And another important point, as you see, the benefit of copying, it copies all the settings, assignments, right? All the values. So, and as soon as I press S, you will see the status bar. It will also show what are the tables which are being copied. Click here. Just please pay attention here, as well as look at SD status bar. Okay. Currency. Okay, it is asking for currency. Which euro is, I think, in the standard company code, euro is used. For us, we can use Indian INR also. Okay, so I'm just putting the currency which is being used, which we will be used. Certain data was not copied. Okay. Number ranges are not transported, so say no. So as soon as I click on no or S, you will see in the status bar, it will show the details. Can you see here? It is showing percentage and all that one in the status bar. 60% tables copied and all that one here. This one. It is all copying from the standard one. Now it is copied and I am saving in our own customizing request. Save. So it was cancelled. Let me check whether TML, TML. So we can. So whenever you see this button position, push button. So here, our shortcut key controls Control F to find doesn't work, right? So for Control F, we can use this position and then click on. We just created TML, right? Tata Motors Limited. It was not created. It is not copied. Let me do again. Check that one. Let me try again. Why it is not copied? I want system to copy from 0001. Yeah, this is the standard one. And we Tata Motors Limited TML. Only copy GL accounts is for okay. Say yes. Say yes. Let me put the currency which is used. Before this, let me check what is the currency which is being used in the standard one. So for 0001, if I want to see detail of this company code, select the line and click on detail. So yeah, it is country D. Euro is the currency which is being used. Okay. So I'm copying, copy, delete, or use this option, and then 0001 is the standard company code which we are using to copy and create our own, and it is Tata Motors Limited, and then execute. Say yes. Do you want to allocate different local? Yeah, say yes. So it is euro. Okay. There are inconsistencies. Okay. Say yes. Say yes. There are two way we can define. Enter numeric. Why it is taking only numeric? Let me try with another option. In this one, I'm directly using new entries where everything is blank. I want to use Tata Motors Limited TML, and the description is Tata Motors Limited. Right, so here it is in Mumbai. Right, country IN. Okay, and then currency, let's say INR. The official language is Indian. We are using. And in case if you would like to put some more details like address, street, and all, we can put this one. Okay, let's say this is a company code we are using. So let's say it is Tata Motors. So here we can use title as company, which is a business, right? So this title company is different from what we discuss company code. Okay, this is like title, like we have doctor, company, Mr., Mrs., like that is thing. And in case if I don't remember the code for Tata Motors, let's say in the description, then we can have a search term. So what I'm going to use search term 70 because this is the batch number 70 we are using. So for all objects, I will just put 70 so that I can easily find them. So the country is IN. And another important point, based on whatever country we select here, right? So here we have India. If I select India, then the all regions of India, only regions related to this particular country will appear. For example, I mentioned India IN here. Only in Indian states, here we have the list of Indian states. Instead of India, if I select US, for example, it will show only states related to US. It will not show related to any other country. Now you can see Alaska, then we have Mississippi, and then New York, all that we have only related to US. Okay. So I'm just putting India, IN. For India, we have, let's say it is in Mumbai, Maharashtra, right? So Maharashtra, and then we have, I'm just putting, and the business language which we are using is English. With this mandatory information, I'm just creating it. Reduce receipt city. Yes. Enter postal code. Okay. Postal code is, let's see, it's mandatory. So in real time, FICO consultants take all that information from business and then they maintain it. Right, and save. Okay, here city is missing, right? That is the reason why city, and then let's say this is the postal code we have. Postal code, okay. Now create. Data was saved. Now you can see TML is part of all this list now. TML, Tata Motors Limited. So we represented Tata Motors Limited as company code with this code TML and the description. Now this is done. What is next step? What we need to do is here after defining, we need to assign to company code, because then only system will come to know that this company, this business belongs to this group of companies, right? So now let's say we have this Tata group or Tata group of company TGC, and so we need to link this Tata Motors with TGC. So let's go to system. For this one, we have one menu path and the transaction code as well. So the menu path here in enterprise structure, it is an assignment because we are assigning it. Earlier we defined, so it was in definition. Now we are assigning, so it is in assignment. So go to system. So just go back. We are in SPRO. So in definition, we were in definition. Just collapse this one. Go to assignment, and in financial accounting again, you see the assign company code to company, right? So look, click on this position button and put your whatever company TML. I'm looking for TML, Tata Motors Limited. So this Tata Motors Limited company is not assigned, so we can assign. So we have one our own company, Tata group of companies TGC. So let's assign that TGC and then TGC, this Tata group of companies. Now this assignment is done. Now the system will understand the link between this these two objects. So as you can see here, Tata group of companies is represented with a company TGC, and Tata Motor is represented with a company code TML, and now there is a link between company and company code, right? So this link we have established, and if we look at this one, we can understand that this is the link which we established between company and company code. Okay, and there are so many other configurations related to company code that we will not, because this is not under the scope of EWM consultant. It is under the scope of FICU consultant. So they are responsible for it. And here, for our practice purpose, we will be using the existing and fully configured company code. Okay. Any question related to client, company code, and all before we jump to business process? And in the next session, we will start with organizational structure, because in this enterprise structure, we discuss about what is a enterprise structure, organizational elements, client, company code. Now we are discussing, we are trying to understand the term business processes. I think yesterday also we discussed, and in next session we will start with and SD, and then logistics execution, and then with warehouse management. This is how we will. This is how the training is planned. Right. So now let's familiarize ourselves with business processes. Okay. So because this is the term which is very commonly used, so we as SAP functional consultant, we should be aware of these terms. So that is the reason why this is being discussed. So, a business process is a series of steps performed by a group of stakeholders to achieve a concrete goal. Right. So, for example, let's say here, if you look at this supply chain management, which we discussed here, we have for every module or for every department, we have a business process. For example, in case of procurement department, where we use module, we have procure to pay cycle. Okay. And similarly, in SD, we have order to cash cycle. And in PP, plan to production cycle. And EWM is involved in all these cycles, right? In all these cycles. So if you look at procure to pay cycle, or one simple this one, just for one example, can you see here? This is the procure to pay we have. So procure to pay cycle, which starts from purchase requisition. And then with reference to this purchase requisition, we have If we already have the suppliers or contract established with them, then the purchase order is created with reference to purchase requisition, and this purchase order is shared or sent to supplier, and with reference to the purchase order, supplier delivers the goods. So we do the good receipt, and then after delivering the goods, supplier bill to us. So that billing is being checked here, which is nothing but invoice receipt and then outgoing payment. So here this is the business process for procurement department, so which is called as procure to pay. So similarly for different department. So as we progress, so we will be, in our EWM, we will be using all these cycles and we will have more clarity, right? So and anyway, the same these documents are already shared with you. You can refer them, right? So to have more, to have better understanding, right? So any question before we conclude today's session? All right, so it seems no question. Then let's conclude here and see you in the next session. Thank you.